There was a big turntable placed at the end of the main line. Its purpose being made here was so that tender engines can be turned round. Going backwards fast is too dangerous for them. Tank engines don't need turntables because they can go just as well backwards as forwards with ease. Occasionally though, some tender engines can pull their trains backwards too, and apart from how the tank engines do it, they have to handle theirs with great skill and care, especially when under the traditional restriction of 45 miles per hour. For some engines, this kind of strategy is fine with them, but Henry, who could never understand, doesn't try it himself, never liked the look of it. One day, Henry was standing on a siding as his crew were tapping his wheels, testing for any defects. He was feeling rather bitter.
It's not right, just not right at all. I don't know why some tender engines have to haul their trains in a direction where they can barely see what's behind them. I wouldn't dare let anyone catch me pull a train backwards. It wouldn't be dignified. And what's more, I might just crash as well because of it.
Oh, come on, Henry. Pulling trains the other way around can't be that bad. I've seen Thomas do it with his coaches all the time.
That's easy for you to say. You and he are both a tank engine. Offence not intended. Us big tender engines are a different story.
Why's that?
Like I was saying, if tender engines hold their engines back to front, they'd be sure to have an accident or something else much worse. It's better off for us to stay in the right place for any train where you can see what's in front of you properly. I never boast, but I'm far too sensible to cause a mishap. I always like to pull my own trains with tender care.
Good one, Henry.
Ha ha ha. Laugh all you want, but this is a serious matter I'm talking about.
Huh, you think everything is a serious matter. First elephants, then boiler problems, and now pulling trains backwards. No wonder you're such a big green coward.
Thomas slipped away, cackling rudely, leaving Henry behind to brood by himself. Later that day, Henry was resting at the sheds and was still grumbling when Sir Topham Hatt arrived.
There's an important goods train that needs to be delivered from Knapford Yard to Vicarstown urgently, and there aren't any other engines available besides you, Henry.
Sir, can I just ask one thing? Why must some tender...
Sorry, Henry, but there's no time for questions now. Be on your way, please.
Yes, sir.
Soon Henry arrived at the end of the line to turn around. His train was waiting for him on the other side, but just when he sidled onto the turntable, he received last-minute bad news.
The table here is not working, unfortunately.
Wait, what? What do you mean it's not working?
The handle's broken off somehow. Edged up to its limit, methinks.
Well, this got awkward quickly. I'm afraid we'll have to pull our trains backwards, old boy.
Henry soon found himself steaming down the line, pulling his goods train tender first. Needless to say, he grumbled dreadfully and thought it all too humiliating. Most of all, though, he felt very unsafe, but there was nothing he could do about it. He would get most embarrassed whenever he passed through the many stations. Passengers would keep staring at him oddly. Some even pointed and laughed. Henry was still grimacing when he pulled into another station and stopped at a signal to let the mainline local go past. Percy was standing on a nearby siding, taking on water.
Oh, hello. Oh, it's you, Henry. Playing tank engines at last, I see. You seem to be doing pretty well with it so far. Not bad for a beginner.
Henry just snorted and felt his position very deeply every second. Points are used to switch trains on different lines. If not set properly, they would result in a derailment. Henry was to carry on to the main line until he reached Vicarstown, his delivery's destination. But the points were still set against him until the main line local had completely passed through, so it would then be his turn to set out after it. By the time it did, Henry and his crew heard the signal drop.
Okay, Henry, all clear. Off we go.
Unbeknownst to everyone else, trouble was brewing, and Henry's luck was soon to run out. Meanwhile, a little bit further down the line, there were some trap points. These kind of points are usually set to the siding in case of a runaway engine. The signalman, in his box, tried to pull the lever and set them for the main line, only to find that it wouldn't budge. The trap points were jammed solid. He tried again and again as hard as he could, but to no avail. Then he heard the sound of a sharp whistle and heavy puffs, but right when he was about to get out of his box, it already was too late.
Ah, gripes! I got to stop the train before it's too late.
Right, I'll be done with this job soon, and then I can... Oh, what happened? I feel all crooked.
And it's no wonder you do. The points hadn't changed, and now you're off the line.
Oh, bust my buffers. Can this day get any worse?
Hey there, Henry. I see being a tank engine didn't go so well for you in the end. I was right all along. You are playing tank engines. You should scrap your tender and get a nice bunker before you decide to act like us.
Was it my fault? The signalman strode towards the mess and was most apologetic. Arrangements took some time, but soon enough Gordon arrived to take over Henry's urgent delivery.
If I'm quite honest enough, I think it's worth being taken off the express just to see this.
Henry just looked away.
Ah well, we live and learn. I suppose just goes to show that some tender engines aren't always best suited travelling backwards, and clearly you've pretty much proved it by yourself.
They tidied up most of the mess. Poor Henry had to stay where he was till Donald and Douglas came with the breakdown gang. To him, it felt just as embarrassing as pulling a train backwards. Dawn fell to dusk by the time Henry was finally re-railed, and with no excessive damage found on him, he slowly limped all the way to the sheds without any more mishaps. But unfortunately for him, the story of his misadventure was spread all over Sodor, and it was hardly long before even Thomas was told.
Well, look who's rolling back into the sheds. Like how he pulled his train today and let himself derail just like that. Who would have thought it, hey, Henry?
For the last time, it wasn't my fault.
It's like you wanted your tender damaged just like me. So much for tender care from this big green coward.
Thomas hooted with laughter, and soon the other engines joined in, thinking the subject was too funny. Henry thought that they were being very silly. Feeling embarrassed again, he hid in a cloud of steam. If there was just one thing that turned out right for Henry in the end, he no longer had any regrets to reverse once more into the back of his berth, out of sight.